Hey friends, welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna have a quick campaign overview and my thoughts on a game that is currently on crowdfunding and that is called Druid Path. I'll be just casually scrolling through the campaign page and sharing my thoughts. That's kinda the whole idea of this video. And just for full transparency, this video is not sponsored in any shape or form. I just found this game and I found it pretty interesting and I wanted to highlight it on my channel. So yeah, that's the whole idea of this video. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So come over to my computer. So we're looking at the Kickstarter page of this game, Druid Path, a solo monster taming card game. And you know what, maybe actually before diving deeper into that, I should provide just a little bit more insights on how I ended up on this page in the first place, which I think might be helpful not only for you to understand kind of my stance, not only my interest not only in this game in particular, but I hope it might be helpful even for potentially other future videos in this format, if you will. And so in general, I would say whenever I'm looking for new games or just checking some other crowdfunding campaigns, I ask myself three questions essentially. First is, would I enjoy this game? And I know it kind of sounds obvious and straightforward. People should play only games that they enjoy, and hopefully that's what they do. But I think in case of a content creator specifically, that may be a little less obvious, I would say. I obviously cannot speak for others, but sometimes I notice when a certain content creator is making game, well, it, not necessarily resonate with them personally. That's at least sometimes I can tell. And I love board games, but I also like very small subset of board games if you compare to the whole variety of things. I generally into strategy and tactical games and all things of that sort. And I realize that I only want to make content that I genuinely enjoy or passionate about. I think that is more honest, more genuine, and that's the only way I can avoid burning out and all of those things. And yeah, I think even though I probably miss out on a lot of opportunities, I just thought it would be more honest again. So I'm asking myself whether I will enjoy this game not only as a gamer, but also potentially as a content creator. Now, the second question I ask myself is, would I have time to play this game? And I think this is again another valid question we have these days with all the crazy variety of games we have nowadays. Sometimes people back games and then those games collecting dust on their shelf for months and sometimes years. I don't want to back games that would collect dust for years, so hopefully if I back something that I would find time to actually bring it to the table and enjoy it either solo or with my friends and family and all of that. So this is, I think, a valid concern, and I probably can give you one example of a game. I can name Oathsworn. It's a very highly rated game, and I watched pretty much, I think, all the videos and rules and explainers. Yeah, I've consumed tons of content about Oathsworn, and after that I'm fairly confident that I would absolutely enjoy playing this game. Maybe not necessarily the story part of it, but at least the tactical combat, because that's completely my thing. And yeah, I know that I would absolutely love this game, but because it's a campaign game, because it's quite a big commitment, and I already have other games to play right now. So this is just this is why basically I never purchased this game, even though I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna love it, and maybe someday, who knows. But for now, yeah, this is just a valid concern. And the third question is, would I be able to film some videos about those games? For example, if I like a game, that I would enjoy this game, and if all the stars align that I actually be able to play this game realistically, then I think it makes sense for me to then film some videos about it, because that's kind of the whole, maybe the whole point I created this channel in the first place. I love going deep into all these nerdy details and talking about this and sharing it with others. That's the whole kind of thing about my channel, if you will. And yes, I think some games, even though I do enjoy them and I do play them, not all of them are kind of suitable in a way I'm able to film them. For example, yeah, I think I can give an example of a game, Gloomhaven, which I'm a big fan of. I've been playing it multiple times, and and by the way, I do plan to make tons of content about Gloomhaven, second edition specifically, which I'm currently playing campaign, but I probably will be filming only class guides and maybe a couple of different formats, but definitely not playthroughs, simply because playthrough in Gloomhaven, they require playing two characters, and I don't like to hand in solo, so all of those things. And yeah, so basically just not every game that I do enjoy, not every game that I do even have time to play, I'm able to film in a way that realistically I can possibly film. So that is all very long way to say that somehow this little game of Druid Path that we're now looking on the Kickstarter page is just, ticked all those boxes. It's a solo game that I probably would enjoy playing. It looks like it doesn't take too much time or space, so I can actually realistically play it. And it looks like I could make some videos about it, which is pretty cool. So let's have a look what this game is all about. A solo strategic card game where druids reclaim the natural world from the grip of corrupted technology. So this game is currently pledged £27,000. That should be probably about $40,000 US, something around that. Hopefully by the time you'll be watching this video it will be more, and I say hopefully because I genuinely wish all games to do well on their crowdfunding. So it's not only about this game specific. 406 backers, 20 days to go. Probably by the time you'll be watching it will be a few days left, but let's have a look what the game is all about. So yeah, as I said, it's for only one player. It's a solo only game for 15 to 30 minutes. And the main kind of premise of the game, let me scroll down a bit, yeah, so there is a path, and makes sense, the game is called Druid Path, and it is essentially your kind of, when you play a single playthrough, you choose one of those 4 available paths, and you go along it, and there are different kind of nodes that you go along, and on each of those different nodes, you encounter either different number of enemies or kind of different obstacles. Sometimes you draw extra cards and you kind of overcome different challenges, and this is also acts essentially as your timer, because once you end the end of your path and you have not defeated the end boss by this time, then you lose the game. So you have to defeat the boss before reaching the final node of the path, or I would say after that, but in any case that is kind of the whole thing of the game. And you have let me scroll down a little bit down. Yeah, so those are your heroes. They're called druids in this game, and each of those druids, they have their own unique abilities, they have their health, and each of them have their own unique set of robot companions, which also have kind of slightly different abilities. I would presume some of them are more defensive, some more utilities, some more kind of aggressive play style, so in different variations in that regard. And then you also select your bosses, and the final villain that you're gonna encounter on your path. They also have each different ability, different health, armor, and different stats in all of that. And on your way, as you're gonna go through your path, you're gonna encounter all different beasts, and there is a big variety of them. And let me just scroll down a little bit further down. So yeah, you're basically picking a druid, you're choosing your villain, and then as you move along your path, you're gonna encounter all of those beasts, and you have the opportunity to tame them. They all have different elements, they have different stats that you need to roll the die to pass the check, and if you do tame them, they become kind of your minions essentially. From neutral, they join your side, and then they become your minions. But if you choose not to tame them, or if you don't have resources to do that, then the dark villain tame them to their side, so they become your enemies that you need to deal with. So there is a kind of back and forth between that, and as you move through the path, through this path, yeah, you need to then fight with those enemies, and they kind of 3-on-3 grid basis, because basically there are up to 3 minions, could be on either neutral or your side or enemy side, and then they deal damage or defense. They have all different stats, and yeah, you need to either defeat the enemy, or if your health reaches 0, you lose the game. That's kind of the whole premise of the game. I think it's pretty simple, but from what I can tell, looking at all of those different enemies and heroes, there is still quite a lot of things. Now let's scroll down just a little bit more to see the pledge levels. Yep, the standard edition costs €27, which I think is a pretty reasonable price. We have 55 for deluxe edition, which includes 1 expansion and deluxified components. Then we have Druid edition that includes another expansion, and we have Collector's edition, which is already sold out, but it's basically just a way of supporting the creator, because this edition doesn't offer pretty much anything except for a single or 2 cards compared to the Druid edition, but in any case it is sold out. And let me just scroll down a little bit what's included. So yeah, there are 4 druids, 4 bosses, for 40 different beast bogs, they call it in this game, different beasts basically that you can tame. 2 double-sided paths, so there are 4 of them in the game. There are also 6 shadow beast bogs, which I believe kind of like elite enemies, if you will, and item cards, and yeah, robots, and all those components. So this is kind of the general, I think, overview of the game. Now, things what I like about this game, there are several of them. First of all, I would say I think it looks pretty to me, and I know obviously like the way the game looks, it doesn't like actually it's not what keeps you playing, but it's definitely, at least for me, it what makes me interested in this game, at least checking it out in the first place. And sometimes the game, it just doesn't look that appealing, but I think the art and all of that, I think in this game it looks pretty. I mean, just look at that. Whatever that beast is, I think it looks nice to me. The second thing I like about this game is just it looks like it has quite a lot of depth despite being quite compact and kind of small, and because all of those different beastborgs, as they call it, they have different abilities, different stats, and you have different heroes, and you can mix and match different hero on a different path or the different villains. So again, it's kind of modular system. This is something that I quite like, especially these days, that you can mix and match. You can choose one hero fighting against one villain on a single path, then you can try a different hero against a different villain on a different path. So there is quite a lot of variety in that, and I like it. And especially if I scroll back a bit, I think I missed the expansion. Yeah, so there are 2 expansions which provide again additional heroes, and they call Druids here, additional enemies, additional paths, and more beastborgs that you can encounter on your way. And remember, because there are only, I believe, 10 nodes that you can go on your path, there is no way to just see all of those kind of beastborg deck. So that means every time you play, you will encounter a slightly different set of those enemies, which I think again adds to the replayability and variety, which is always a good thing, especially for a quite compact game like that, for a quite affordable game, generally speaking, I would say. And another thing I like about this game, at least so far, if I scroll a little bit up to the items, yeah, you see all this like +2 here. So whenever you try to tame all of those beastborg, you need to pass a certain roll breakpoint in order to do that. And in order to do that, you roll the dice. But sometimes, dice is a luck based. Obviously, you have no control over the how they roll. But with those items, you can in fact affect in a sort of kind of acting as a bad luck protection, if you will. So if you want to add +2 to your roll, you can do this by discarding an item. So again, I find this pretty clever system overall, the way all those items are multi-use. They can be used either as their primary effect, or they can be used by discarding them to increase your roll. Sometimes they have extra value that you can add to your roll. And the same, by the way, is for all those enemy beasts. You see they have white and black side, so depending if you tame them, then you trigger the white side. If the enemy kind of tames them, or if you fail to tame them, I would rather say, then you trigger their dark ability, which I think, yeah, just overall, I think there is something nice. There is some nice depth here, again, despite being so compact. And yeah, I like it. I like the way it looks and it's presented, and this is something I would probably enjoy playing. Now, of course, there are a couple of concerns, and I'll probably start with a kind of big overarching one, and it is the fact that these, I believe, if I scroll up, these Lemma Games, the creator of the game, it is their first project, at least on Kickstarter. Maybe they have done different projects, but I couldn't find that information, so I would presume that this is their first project. And I would say, generally speaking, making games and delivering games to backers is a very, very tough thing to do. Not only because of all those obvious complications, but also because of the external things like tariffs and delays and manufacturer things and the quality control and fulfillment and all of that. It is a complicated process, and as we all know, even experienced companies, even big companies, sometimes they do mistakes, they have delays, so all of that. So obviously, when you have a company that is just the first project, I would say encountering all of those things are more likely, I would say. Now, I think everyone have different take on that, but I'm generally okay in trusting designers, trusting new companies, even if it's their first project. I mean, every company we know and love today, they all have started somewhere, right? There was obviously a moment in time somewhere where they started with just the project number one, and this is the case. I believe it is the case for these Lemma Games. They are a couple of designers basically based in Spain, and yeah, maybe it is a concern for you, and I do kind of acknowledge that as well. But personally, I don't think that is a big problem. Again, for me personally. Now, the second thing that is again could be a concern. Let me scroll down a bit to the use of AI. They say no AI-generated assets were used in the creation of the game box, card templates, tokens, rulebook, card symbols, or icons. AI was used only to assist in generating initial concept art for all those beasts, enemies, and druid cards. Generally speaking, I would say I am okay when AI is used as a tool, and to be honest, I think it's hard not to use AI in one way or another these days. And even all the graphic software like Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, all of those tools, they already have AI built in. So I mean, even our phone, photo apps on the phone is using AI essentially to do all of those things. So again, I think it's just hard sometimes not to use AI in one capacity or another. But again, I am okay when professional designers, illustrators, they use those tools to create the art that we love. I am not okay though when those tools, I would rather say when people try to replace real artists with those tools, just gimmicky, like quickly generated, half-assed things and trying to sell them as art. I'm not okay with that, but it looks like at least that it's not the case in this game, so I'm pretty good with that. Again, if you have more questions about using AI, feel free to ask the creator of the game directly, but from what I can tell, this looks pretty good to me. Now, another thing is, I would say less overwhelming kind of concern, more like a gameplay concern in this case. Again, if I scroll all the way back to those paths illustrations, so we have druids, and yeah, so all those paths, not quite a concern, but all of those nodes, they are obviously, it's a linear path, and part of me wish there was just a little bit kind of more different branching of all those nodes, kind of like in Slay the Spire or 20 Strong Tangle with Red. I think that is pretty cool. Maybe actually it's not an issue here, I don't know. It's one of the things that I'm rather curious that I'm concerned, because maybe that's the whole premise of the game. You have just a linear path and maybe it plays out nicely. We need to actually play to see how it feels in action. And probably my last sort of concern-ish is about this storage thing. If I scroll down to specifically to the expansions, so yeah, we have one expansion called this Druid, this Mythical Beasts, and we have another one called, let me just scroll down a bit. So we have, this Smoke Slayer, and as you can see, this box is just essentially a tag box, and presumably you need to store those components back in this tag box. Now, I'm definitely not a fan of that, and I already expressed my concerns and I wish that all of those cards that would fit into the game box, in the main core box, because I think it's important. I think the way you store your components are not only for storage, it actually affects your overall gaming experience, especially when you're setting up the game and tearing down the game. Yeah, I think having tag boxes is alright just as a way of, delivering those components, but definitely not for long-term storage. So yeah, this Smoke Slayer expansion, and there was another one, Mythical Beasts, Mythical Hybrids. Yeah, I think both of them should fit into the main box, I think, and I hope they will address this before releasing the game. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I would say. You can feel free to scroll through the page yourself, see what you like, see what you don't like. Again, I mentioned this in the beginning, but I have no affiliation in this game, except for the fact that it ticked all of the 3 boxes that I mentioned in the beginning. This is something I could potentially enjoy playing. It looks like it doesn't require a lot of space, both mental and physical space, and just time, so that means I can realistically and actually play this, and it looks like it would be fun to record some playthroughs of this game. This is something I'm personally looking forward to, and yeah, I think that's the wrap of today's video. And of course, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to check other videos on my channel, namely about the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. That's kind of the main game that I've been obsessed for the several months now, and I have the most amount of videos to that game specifically, although of course I cover other games as well, like Slay the Spire, 20 Strong Tangle with Red, and more games on the way as well. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and well, thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next video.